Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it. Hello and welcome to ESPNH, or ESPN History. This year, our annual June Madness tournament features 8 wartime presidents, pitted up in 1v1 basketball games to see who truly was the best commander-in-chief of our nation.
The presidents were seeded 1 through 8 according to their reasons for entering the war, and the victories were determined based on their performance on the war. You can catch us live on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Wednesdays, Saturdays, Fridays, and Mondays. Thanks.
My suit is too small. Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Game 1, Wilson versus LBJ.
This was Wilson versus LBJ, the first seed against the 8th seed. It was really turned out the way we expected.
Yeah, a blow up by Wilson.
LBJ drives to the hoop, but he is grossly unprepared for a guerrilla war and gets booby-trapped.
And Wilson, now taking full advantage of LBJ's unpreparedness, hits a jumper.
And LBJ takes a charge, disregarding the consequences for a full-scale war.
And here we have Wilson dribbling around tentatively, not wanting to go in. However, despite his initial reluctance, he attacks carefully and efficiently.
So LBJ puts up a 3, but like this war, his shot is going nowhere and rolls to the other side of the court.
And LBJ, advancing too aggressively, encounters unexpected difficulties in Indochina.
Despite Wilson's reluctance to enter the war, he really pulled out a win here.
That's true, and as we expected from LBJ, a Western power really struggled against guerrilla tactics. Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Game 2, Lincoln versus Washington.
All right, Chuck. Let's talk about Game 2 of our doubleheader last night. Lincoln versus Washington.
Well, this game was one of our most anticipated games yet. The 4 seed against the 5 seed. A classic Civil War against Revolutionary War.
Let's check the film.
Let's check it, Eddie.
Looks like Lincoln was more prepared to engage the war against the South than Washington against the British.
Despite Washington's disadvantage in weaponry, he still manages to score.
Regardless of his army's lack of morale, Washington still scores due to his own energy, as seen by his celebration.
See Washington blocking the efforts of his opponent, protecting his home turf and bringing it to the other end to score.
Well, Bill, Washington clearly won that war from uniting an army that wasn't positive about what they were fighting for.
Yeah, and then we have Lincoln, and him and the North against the South. They were clearly the overpowered group, and yet they were still struggling against Robert E. Lee and the Confederates. This is why he lost, and Washington is going to advance to the next round.
Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Game 3, McKinley versus FDR.
We really expected to see FDR win last night, but it's not how it went.
Despite being the underdog, McKinley really proved to be the better player.
Yes, he did.
Thanks, Eddie.
Look at the way McKinley rallies the country around the goal of war.
McKinley uses his pure speed, only viewable in super slow-mo, to speed up the war effort and come to victory.
The reason that McKinley won last night is because his simple ability to outrun his opponent.
Yeah, Jerry, he won in a record short 30-minute game.
Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Game 4, Bush versus Truman.
So Game 4 of our first round of June Madness featured George W. Bush versus President Truman in what was supposed to be a nail-biter.
Yeah, Fernando, this game was not a nail-biter. It turned out quite differently. Let's check the scores.
Despite Truman's aggression, Bush fights through contact and retaliates after an attack.
Well, Phil, to me this looks like a travel, but the refs seem to be looking the other way as Truman gets away with it.
Well, Bush heads to Iraq to search for WMDs despite intel saying otherwise as he shoots on the wrong basket.
Truman attacks the rim but is hindered by his fear of communist Russia outarming him. This time, Truman's aggression works to his advantage, as with Bush down he goes in for an easy layup.
Well, Truman again goes for the aggressive maneuver, but he loses the support of the public as demonstrated by this lone fan.
Well, due to Truman's overaggression, he lost his subordination, ultimately losing him the game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how Bush is able to match up against McKinley in the next round. We'll see you here next time.
That's gonna be a tough one, Jimmy.
It is.
Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Round 2, Game 1, Wilson vs. Washington.
All right. Round 2, Game 1, Washington Wilson. Great game. Had me on the edge of my seat the whole time.
First round, we saw some reluctance from Wilson and really seemed to come back and play some part in this game.
It did. Let's watch the clips.
Let's watch it.
Let's watch it.
And this close match comes to a close as Washington hits a buzzer beater for the victory.
As I said before, Wilson's reluctance really seemed to catch up with him, and I think he lost the game because of that.
Yeah, I mean, Washington was really able to rally his troops and win this game in the last second. So we'll see how he matches up against McKinley.
We will see.
Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Round 2, Game 2, Bush versus McKinley.
Round 2, Game 2, McKinley versus Bush. We saw again McKinley's speed really taking over to beat Bush.
Kind of what we expected based off his performance against FDR. I have a dentist appointment tomorrow.
As seen here, McKinley's imperialist mindset allows him to drive to the hoop and take an early lead.
With time running out, Bush throws up one last-ditch effort to win, but falls unvictorious.
Just as we expected, McKinley's quickness to close just can't be matched in this competition.
Exactly, Ezekiel, and we gotta remember that McKinley's speed is primarily due to his guerrilla warfare tactics.
Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.
Championship game, Washington versus McKinley. Blah, blah, blah.
I could not be more excited for this championship game. It is the biggest game we have seen in years. I've been going back and forth all week on who's going to win.
I've been really surprised with McKinley blazing through the competition. My bracket is
Me too, buddy. Me too. Lost a lot of money.
Well, McKinley drives to the hoop, throws an alley-oop to his war-ready troops as they slam it home.
Here, Washington uses his own terrain in his warfare tactics for an easy layup.
McKinley uses his own knowledge of the terrain to quickly wipe out his opponent, as seen here by the hard screen for an easy layup.
And Bart, wasn't this just crazy? McKinley just takes off with the ball.
Well, I think looks like he knew what he was doing right away, heading straight for the Philippines. His imperialist mindset really is taking over this game.
This is crazy. Jordan just directly invades him. Unreal. Heads off to the balcony. And Gary, have you ever seen a shot like this before?
No, it's unreal, and it looks like it seals the deal.
Oh my goodness.
McKinley is our champion.
Oh, what a game, Bruce. Or should I say Muhammad? This was an intense game. Both teams were fighting a guerrilla warfare style.
Overall, though, Charles, McKinley was able to rally his troops better, and that brought him to victory.
Yes, it did.
Good job, McKinley.
Win it, win it, win it, win it, win it.